being part of that ocean. If we understand this truth, that we are part of one life, sisters, we are not really separated from each other. We are the nearest kith and kin. And if one cell in that body tries to hurt another cell within the same body, what happens? Look at those cancerous cells. They try to destroy, they try to harm other good cells in the same body. And the result is that the whole body suffers and finally dies. And even that cancerous cell cannot survive. It dies. So, if we realize this truth, that we are part of the same living entity, and that if we hit another person, we are really hitting ourselves. If we hurt another person, we are really hurting ourselves. If we perform service to others, we are serving ourselves. We are helping other people to progress. We are also progressing. But if we try to hurt, if we speak bad things about other people, if we think bad things about other people, we are doing that to ourselves only. This is the human value, the truth, so important in our life. If we understand this first value, the truth that we are God, that we are Buddha, that we are Atman, whatever names we give, doesn't matter, but it's all the same. Therefore, we can not hurt anybody else. We'll follow from this truth. Because we are one, our duty is to serve, our duty is to love. The greatest commandment of Jesus, love thy neighbor as thyself, immediately becomes a fact. It's real, it's true, because our neighbors are ourselves. Therefore, naturally, we must love our neighbor as ourselves. So other human values becomes evident when we understand this truth. So we have to teach our children to learn to turn within, find the truth within him. Then he can use his intuitive powers. He will learn to discriminate between what is true and what is not true. He will become a perfect human being. Let us now look at another human value. I'd like to talk a little bit, before I talk about human values, about other human values, I'd like to talk about love. Love is now so important in these days. We find that human beings nowadays are losing control of his emotion. It's becoming more and more evident. We have more and more anger within ourselves. We have to learn to control this anger. We don't have enough love in the world. At my university, when I was a professor at Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok, I used to go around and teach my students about love. And they said, we don't believe in love. No, we are now living in an age of science, technology, love. So I said, all right, let's prove it. Let's use science. Let's use technology. So I helped them to perform an experiment on some plants, marigold. We grew about 70 marigold plants. We selected those that were equally strong. A week, we take them out from the experiment. We gave them everything in the same way, the same conditions, same amount of water for each plant. The ground, the earth that we used, we mixed well before we separated into 2 plots. Everything was equal, the conditions were equal. Then I got the students to come along and start pouring their love to one plot only. The other plot we kept as a control plot for comparison. And they start to pour their love to the plants. I told them how to pour their loves. They didn't know how to do it, but it's just a feeling. Here we try to have the same type of feeling to the plants. In the mind, we think about their well-being, their growth, their joy, happiness, whatever we can think, the students try to put into their mind and have this feeling from the heart. And then we watch the experiment. We found that after a few days, and we start to measure, they were at least 50% taller. And the ones that received love, after a few days, start to have flowers, beautiful yellow flowers. Whereas the other plant, the other group, didn't have any flowers that bloomed at all. We saw a big difference. Of course, the students weren't quite happy with that yet. They said, well, we must calculate, we must have something in figures. So we measured the height of each plant from both groups. And we did a statistical analysis on it. We put them into figures. We did analysis of variance and various tests to see whether it's possible to happen in that way. Is there any probability that it will happen in that way? And when we made the calculations, it proved that it's a near impossibility. It cannot happen, but it did happen. So finally, we have to accept that there is a difference between the 2 plots. And what's the difference? All the conditions were identical. The only difference was that love was poured to one particular plot. So the students had to accept by scientific method that love existed, that love is an energy that can cause the plants to grow faster and better. Really works. Energy that we can use in this world. Right now, man is always afraid of other men. We're always wary. We're thinking bad things about other people. We're afraid of them. We're afraid of other people. And so we start creating weapons to defend ourselves because of our fear. One country builds the atomic bomb. So another country said, well, we must have the hydrogen bomb. So when they have the hydrogen bomb, another person said, right, we must have the neutron bomb. So when we have Star Wars, well, apart from lasers and all that, they want to create another secret weapon now to all this. And the result is quite clear. Total destruction of the earth if we do not stop this mad race. Man has forgotten that we have the greatest weapon in our hands already, and that is love. Love is the greatest weapon. Nothing is greater. I'll give you one illustration. I think you probably have heard of this person. I learned a great deal while I was in England, when I was a student, from the teachings of this great man, and that is Paramahansa Yogananda. He was teaching in New York once and went for a walk. Suddenly he found 3 robbers, or 3 muggers they call over there. So Paramahansa Yogananda took out his purse, gave it to them, and at the same time poured out his love. Angry with anybody, so he poured this love to the 3 robbers. In his mind he's thinking, may they be well and happy. And a strange thing happened. The 3 robbers stood still and suddenly apologized. They said, we are sorry, we cannot take your money. Turned back and ran away. You see how love can create miracles. A person who has a gun on you and you start pouring love to him, he changes his mind. He cannot shoot you. He cannot harm you if you pour out your love to that person. It's a tremendous energy. You don't need another gun to defend yourself. We all have this within ourselves, this love. And we can use it in our daily life. As soon as we are awake in the morning, start pouring your love out to everybody. Thinking of the whole world. May the world be happy. Start the day with love. And the whole day you go along giving out your love to everybody. Someone passes you, may he be happy. You see some plants looking a little bit bad, pour some love to that plant. You see a dog coming along, looking unhappy, pour your love to that dog. Spend the day with love. And before you retire to bed, sit still for a while and start pouring your love to the whole world again. End the day with love. And truly we'll find peace, happiness. Anger cannot arise when you have love in your heart all the time. Love is a tremendous weapon. It is. And it will become stronger and stronger the more we understand the truth. And the more we have love, the more peace, the more joy, the more you want to pour out your love. On the contrary, while I was performing experiments at Chulalongkorn University with my students, I found one plant suddenly died. It shriveled up and died. So I thought, well, there must have been a student cursing this plant. So I went around asking the students. Finally, one boy came along, one man, he was already grown up, and he said, yes. He came one day on a Saturday, sat in front of that plant for 3 whole hours, and the plant shriveled up and died. It's very important. He told me that after that, he was so unhappy. He had a terrible headache. He had a terrible stomachache. He felt all tired and very ill after that. Well, that is the reaction that we all get. Whatever we do unto others, we are doing unto ourselves. Why? Scientists have discovered that there is actually energy that flows through us and leave our body. When I was a student here, I visited the other place, that is Oxford. And I went to a laboratories there called the Delaware Laboratories in Oxford. Experiments were being performed by George Delaware. This energy, which he calls primary magnetic energy. He says this is a more subtle energy. And he